Hello my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you'd like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. So admittedly, I wasn't really planning on filming today, but I just was getting really excited about putting some of my plants on planks, and I have a couple of them to do now, and I think that they're ready. So I'm just staring at all of them over there and all the stuff, and I'm just so excited to just get it done. And I figured I would take you guys along with me to get that done. So I'm going to be putting my Syngonium albo on a plank and my Epipremnum pinnatum albo on a plank. So these are the first two plants I've actually put on planks, even though I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, but we're finally doing it. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of interact with you guys. So on Instagram, I put out a question like, what are your unpopular or controversial houseplant related opinions? Like, what are your hot takes? And a bunch of you guys sent in some really interesting takes, and so I'd love to kind of react to them and talk about them while we do this. So yes. And also, before I forget, I just got my planks of wood from either Lowe's or Home Depot, something like that. And I used the De La Plants method. I used a staple gun, and I found these, I guess they're kind of like giant staples. I just found these and thought that they might work well. So I'm hoping that it works, but this will help, first of all, facilitate keeping it in the pot without wasting a lot of the plank and burying that in soil. And also, hopefully, it will mitigate some of the rotting issues that could happen over time. So yes, that is my current plan, and hopefully it works. All right, I'm hoping that this will be like kind of a good enough angle. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see everything, but I feel like repotting angles are always such a struggle, you know? I might start with the easier one, which is the Epipremnum pinnatum albo variegata. So cute. So I'm hoping that this pot will be an okay size. It might be a little bit too intense of a size difference, but I don't really have anything, like the next size down that I have is too small. So I might just add a little bit less soil than I normally would, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Okay, so I'm gonna set this in here, start adding soil, but first I'm going to pick the first opinion to talk about. Also, as a side note, if you see like shoes over here, I'm sorry, but that's where we put our shoes, and I'm not going to move them just for this video, so deal with it. Okay, so the first controversial opinion that I'm going to read about, someone said, I am too lazy to mix my own soil, which, okay, it is important to have well-draining soil, but I feel you on not wanting to mix your own, because I also don't typically mix my own. I'm using the De La Tanks soil mix, which is like pre-mixed for you, largely because I don't have like the time or the energy to, or really the storage space to be like storing all of these soil amendments, as much as I would love to just do it myself. Look at all these pretty roots. I don't want to spill soil literally everywhere, but so, you know, I get it. I'll be right back. I might have to switch something out real fast. 1 second. I had actually made like 2 of these, but this one has a bit less space at the bottom. I was just finding as I was repotting this that I'm gonna need it to be shorter than that. So, backup plan. Anyways, so I do understand that sentiment. That being said, it's one thing if you buy a soil kind of like De La Tanks, where yeah, you didn't mix it yourself, but like it's still honestly probably better than anything that I would probably mix myself, if that makes sense. And there are soil mixes out there that you can buy that are better than others. However, if you're only ever using like straight up Miracle-Gro, like it's none of my business, but I would feel a little bit bad for your plants unless you specifically raised plants that don't really care as much. You know what I mean? Because, you know, there are some plants where you can kind of get away with it. Like, honestly, most of my calathea and pothos, or a lot of my calathea and pothos, my prayer plants and stuff, I haven't repotted from their original mix just because they haven't needed it. And the original mix that I got at the store is absolute trash, barely has any drainage, and yet, you know, they're happy enough, at least. Most of them, some of them, sometimes. Now, when I repot them, I will definitely be potting them in soil with better aeration because I do think that they would be happier. But some plants are more tolerant of that, especially if they aren't like aeroids or Hoya or something like that. Particularly prayer plants, like they don't mind being a little bit more moist. Obviously, they don't want to be way too moist all the time, but like they're a little bit more tolerant of it. They like to stay moist for longer, that sort of thing. So that's where, you know what, okay, yeah, I can totally get it. I can get behind that, you know, that's fine. So I'd say like if you are truly too lazy to mix your own soil, or if you don't have a desire to like buy soil that has a chunky mix. Honestly, another alternative could be like using something like pon or leca. I personally don't prefer pon or leca, but like you can totally do hydroponics, and I think that your plant could be perfectly happy that way as well if you really don't want to like have to store all of the different amendments and all that sort of thing. Now there's obviously even more stuff that kind of goes into pon and leca, but I'm not very educated on that subject, so I'm not gonna like get into it. But yeah, that's sort of my opinion on that, I guess. Like you can do it if you want to. It probably won't be best for your plants if you don't have good soil or well-draining soil, but there are ways around it to where if it really bothers you that much to have to deal with it, you can find a solution that works for you, and that's fine. And a lot of owning houseplants is just kind of figuring out solutions that work best for you and for your environment. And I mean, honestly, if your soil dries out extremely fast because like you don't live in a humid area or something like that, like I could totally see. Sorry, I'm trying to find a piece in this pile that actually works well. Basically, what I'm trying to say is not everyone's environments and lifestyles and like watering habits are the same even. So like if you're a chronic underwaterer, maybe you should get a soil or use a soil mix or whatever that like doesn't dry out quite as fast, you know? And again, that depends on the plant too and what they need. So there's a lot that goes into it, but in the end, do what you want to do, and that's fine. Okay. I think there's another, oh shoot. I like missed a piece. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out so far. It's super cute. And I guess there are a couple of like front bits right here that also would need to be attached, but I don't know if I should do that later as the plant is a little bit longer, or if I should try to attach it now, or if I should have addressed that a long time ago. Let me look at the next hot take, controversial opinion, unpopular opinion, whatever you want to call it. Specific care tips shouldn't be given online because everyone's climate is different. Ooh, I think, oh gosh, what's her name? The lady with like the rare plant shop, Kaylee Ellen. Kaylee Ellen, I think, just came out with a video kind of on this topic. So if you're interested, maybe I'll like link it or something. But basically, she was like saying, here's why I don't in her British accent. Here's why I don't make houseplant care videos anymore. That was probably really horrible. Probably butchered it, but I had to. Sorry, Kaylee. But I think that she had some really good points, and you know, I haven't personally made a houseplant care video yet, partially for that reason as well. There are some factors when it comes to houseplant care that like there's no way that I could predict it, and so I could give you all this advice and be like, yeah, this is what works for me. But then if you try to follow that advice, it would result in your plant dying because first of all, like if it doesn't fit your care style, it's going to be really hard for you to keep up with it. But you know, like this person addressed that I just read, like everyone's climate is different, everyone's house and home environment is different, everyone's lighting is different. And you know, some plants just react differently in different people's homes because of those factors like humidity and even like something like the type of pot that you choose to use. And you can try to cover as much as you possibly can in a care video. Oh, maybe this one plant would probably prefer terracotta, or this one plant would probably prefer to be in a plastic pot with a cashpo or something because of water retention. But like, it's really hard to predict those types of factors, so I do get it. I still would like to make maybe some care videos in the future with some plant, like very specific plants that I feel really confident in, just because I think that there is some value in me sharing my experience and in other people sharing their experiences. But I think that all care videos should probably be caveated with that fact, where it's like, hey, these are things that work for me. This is exactly what my environment is like. This is exactly what my humidity level is like. These are my watering habits. Like, you have to be really specific. But yeah, there's a lot of factors, a lot of things to look out for. So I do get that sentiment. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily going to stop me from sharing some care advice, but I would always want to be careful to give that caveat, you know what I mean? So I don't know. There's still value in us sharing our experiences with plants because, you know, if no one ever does, then at least it gives people a starting point. So I don't know. There's all that. But anyways, this I think is done. And I think he looks so cute. And I can't wait for him to climb up this little wooden pole thing. So I hope that it works out. I'll keep you guys updated on how he does and if he ever chooses to attach. There are a couple of them that are the same or very similar, so I'll read them both. So the first one, it says, not super unpopular, but the you can never have too many plants thing is toxic. And then the other one, which is kind of along the same vein, says social media makes us purchase more plants that we don't need/want, and it gets exhausting. I mean, yeah, I would say you're both pretty correct. Ooh, there's a little root. Oh gosh, I'm making a mess. But there's a little root on the bottom right there, if you can see it. I would say yes. I can sympathize or empathize. Like, I think that there is definitely, just like with anything, there can definitely be an overconsumption of plants and like that gotta catch 'em all dynamic. I think a lot of us just love to collect things, be it plants or figurines or throw pillows, I don't know. Like, we just have a natural inclination to want to acquire things that maybe we don't need. And the internet and social media definitely makes it worse. And part of it could be that, like, keeping up with the Joneses aspect of it, where, you know, oh, well, this person has these plants and like these things in their collection and this, and it seems to make them so happy, and I want to be happy too, so I want to like also get those plants, and I want to also experience that joy. And I think that social media in general, again, across the board, whether it comes to like your appearance, when it comes to your possessions, when it comes to the way that your home looks, the way that your children behave, I don't know, like all those things, you know, we tend to put our best foot forward on the social media. Most people have this in the back of their heads. Social media definitely breeds discontentment. You're comparing the standard of what you have which of course you are fully informed with what you have, right? You see the good and the bad, whereas when you're just scrolling through social media, psychologically, your brain, even though in the back of your head you might know, oh, well, these people are just putting their best foot forward, they're putting their healthiest plants forward, they are tidying up the space, and then behind them somewhere else there might be a big mess or something. Like, even though in the back of your head you know that their lives aren't perfect, psychologically your brain's kind of stupid. Like, it still doesn't compute. You still compare it to the way that your life is and how you perceive it to be lackluster in comparison. Again, it's not just with plants, but it can certainly manifest itself with plants. If you see all these pretty plants that other people have, and it seems like it's making them really happy, and it also seems like, oh, that plant would look really, really good in my space, or I think that I would really enjoy taking care of that plant. For a lot of people, I think that there might be different motivations for different people. Like, for some people it might be a race to like try to get as many rare plants as possible, or like unique plants, so that you can kind of show them on social media and be like, hey, I have this thing and I'm like getting experience with it, so then you'll get more followers because of this, that, and the other. Or you see like that certain plants are more coveted than others, and so you want to like get on the train, get on the hype, and see what the experience is all about for yourself. I don't know. Or honestly, a lot of it is just you're exposed to like all of these possibilities of things that you can own and you can have. And it's really exciting, and you just want to try it all. Like, I do think that the motivation is different for different people, but like on the whole, I think it affects us all very similarly, where it's all very exciting and very just hyper fixated on trying new things, getting more things, trying to find happiness, trying to fill like this gaping hole inside of our souls, comparing ourselves to other people, wanting to fit in. Like, there's just all of this stuff that's just consuming us, and it's all happening on such a subconscious level a lot of the time, and it can be exhausting. Like that person said, it can be really, really overstimulating and discouraging, like if you don't have enough money to spend on all these plants. So pretty. Or if you can't afford to spend all this money on plants, and that's discouraging to you, because then you're faced with like, oh, I can't have what these other people have, and I'm not as well off as them. It makes the limitations very real. Or like, I don't have enough space, or I don't have the proper conditions, and sometimes that stops some of us. For others of us, it doesn't stop us. But there's a lot that just goes into it, and yes, exhausting, I think, is the right word, because we're trying to keep up with everything that's going on, keep up with the trends, keep up with trying new plants that are really, really exciting, and like might excite you a lot when you get them, but like if you acquire way too many and you get your hands full, and if you acquire them really, really quickly too, like it can get really, really daunting really, really fast, because all of a sudden all these plants that you bought are getting big, or you have a pest outbreak, or this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden you realize you've overconsumed. Because I mean, it's one thing to like collect something that doesn't really need anything from you other than space, like, I don't know, old records or something. But it's a whole nother thing to be collecting living things. It's definitely really, really tricky to find that balance. So I sympathize with all you guys that are feeling this way, because I've definitely felt it as well. A lot of social media and content creators have tried to address it, but it's also like, it's an easy pit for creators to, content creators, whatever you want to call it, like people that are on social media a lot. It's very easy for us to also like fall into that trap, especially like if we've attached our like self-worth to how many followers we're getting or like how much engagement we're getting. And if I'm being honest, haul videos and stuff like that, stuff of that nature, they're really, really popular. They're popular for like good reason because they're exciting. But I think that it just perpetuates the same thing happening over and over again, because if it's content that's really popular and gets more views, then like content creators and stuff might be more inclined, like if you're really running low on engagement or something, then you know, oh well, if I just do a houseplant haul or a big unboxing, like I know that that's going to be successful. And so yeah, there's a lot that's perpetuating that cycle, I think, but I think that it's a totally valid thing. And I totally went on a big tangent, but so I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that conversation. I would love to hear about it, because I'm really curious to know what you guys think about it too. So yeah, I kind of have my hands full with this, so I'm gonna focus on this for just 1 second. Because it's a little bit tricky to get all these guys in here and doing what I want them to be doing, you know? Okay, and then the next, and probably the last one that I'm probably going to talk about today. Okay, succulents are nice plants. Most people just don't take the time to learn their care. Ooh, I mean, okay, I will say I definitely have a soft spot for succulents, but I feel you. I think part of it is learning their care, and part of it too is that, you know, I do think that succulents are great plants, but it's also like very specialized care. A lot of the plants that are popular right now can get by without full sun, you know, but succulents are tricky in that they definitely need a lot of sunlight to thrive, and most of our homes just aren't well suited to that. And if you're willing to put in the effort to get the right grow lights for them and the right setup, like that's awesome. But a lot of people just, they would rather do that for other plants that aren't succulents. A lot of people are probably burnt out on succulents too because of that big succulent craze that happened back in the 2010s. And they were burned by everyone being like, oh my gosh, they're so easy care and yada, yada, yada. So I would agree at this point, they're very underrated, but I think that people are just really kind of done with succulents, and moved on to other things, not because they're bad plants, but because they're just tired, or they associate succulents with when they were terrible plant parents in the very beginning and didn't know what they were doing, you know, or like if their succulents were not successful and died. I don't know. I think a lot of people probably just feel like they can't do succulents because they were some of their first plants and they failed and they never really looked back. But I think that you're right. Succulents are really nice plants, and I do think that they deserve some more love. But I'm going to continue messing with this to see if I can get it to look good, because right now I'm not 100% content because I had to put in all these cuttings, and I probably should have made more of a bouquet of cuttings, but that's sort of the downside of talking and doing these videos, because I'm not like focused on what I'm doing in the task at hand. So give me a second. So I think that I'm gonna have to just end it right there. It's not quite as stable as I wanted it to be, but I think that it works. And I might mess with like the way that I attached these a little bit more, but all in all, I'm fairly happy with it. And as they grow, I'll keep on attaching with plant Velcro or with tape or something like that, but this works for now. And it's honestly perfect timing because I don't know if you can hear her, but my daughter just woke up from her nap. So yeah, so these are the two plants. I think this one's definitely a little bit more stable by comparison, but that's also just because this is really big and it's a bunch of cuttings rather than one cohesive plant. So yes. Well, with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like or comment or subscribe. Any of those things that are super helpful for my channel. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on these unpopular plant opinions that I shared and want to join the conversation, I would love to hear your thoughts. But I have to go get my daughter because she is increasingly getting more upset. But yeah, anyways, I love you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.